Ah, that's okay. Hey.
Yay, hello. I think we're good.
Okay, cool.
All right, thanks, Jason.
Jason and Jason.
Yes, right? Double team. How's it going?
Good, how are you doing?
Doing well. We had some technical difficulties getting on, but we're here now, so good to be here. Super excited to talk to you and talk to another artist and hear about everything that you have done. And I've read, you shared a little bit before this about what you have done, and I'm excited to hear about what you've done, what you're working on, and what the future holds for you. So
Sure.
let me hear a little bit and share with people like who you are, what you've done.
Okay. Thanks for having me on, first of all. And I'm fully caffeinated, so let me know if I'm speaking too fast. But so I'm an artist and an illustrator, and I work with comic books and publishing and toys.
Oh, very cool.
And some of my biggest hits would be Sesame Street, doing illustrations for Sesame Street and the Muppets. I also do work for the Jim Henson Legacy, which is a company that is, I guess they run events and make sure they keep the memory of Jim Henson alive, because I'm a big Jim Henson person.
Cool.
I also have done work for Dark Horse Comics, including my co-created Halloween Legion, and I've worked with Edgar Rice Burroughs on a bunch of Tarzan properties and Tarzan-related Edgar Rice Burroughs properties.
Oh, nice. And so where did you get your initial start? What was your first illustration gig?
My first illustration, well, I've always been drawing, and I bartended for 8 years. It took me a long time to even finish school or get a job in the industry, but my first job was at Sesame Street, and I was doing cute little illustrations and working with two wonderful art directors there, Nancy Stevenson and Janice Bouchon. And I brought one guide I worked on. At this point, it was very early in my career, so Nancy and Janice and a gentleman named Laurent Lynn worked mostly on these, but I got to sort of work closely with them and do cleanup. So that was really exciting for me. But they're essentially, I never know how to do the camera backwards and forward.
No, I do. I'm an art teacher. Yes. And I'm like, it's awful.
There we go. So it was I did a lot of turnarounds, color specifications. This was fun out. Yeah, this was fun. I got to work on Big Bird, which is, one of my faves.
Oh, those are so cool.
So, this was a really wonderful beginning to my art career, to be able to work closely with artists who basically have been doing this for years. And I feel school was great and I learned a lot, but really being in the industry is what fine-tuned my skills.
Right. I mean, I can imagine that's quite a first job.
Yeah, I really got lucky. Although it did take me 8 years of bartending to get to that job.
Hey, gotta put in our time, right?
Yeah, that's true. I'm not complaining.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you went from Sesame Street and worked a couple other, and where are you? What brought you to where you're at now?
Yeah, so my most recent claim to fame is doing cover art for My Little Pony.
Okay.
So I do varying covers. Here are some of the ones I've worked on.
How did you end up falling into that?
I'll just go backwards a little there. So after Sesame Street, I started working for Dark Horse Comics. Some people found me online and they really liked my artwork. And I started talking with a gentleman named Martin Powell, who had a great idea for the Halloween Legion. And then we started building it together and created a graphic novel that was then picked up by Dark Horse Comics. So I was really excited about that because I've always read comics since I was a little kid. So that was a dream come true.
Right.
And then after that, I started working with Edgar Rice Burroughs, and I did a bunch of Tarzan graphic novels and digital online strips, and they still run them. And I would definitely suggest going to edgarriceburroughs.com and checking them out because there's a bunch of wonderful stories and artists there. But this was the next thing I worked on, which was Jungle Tales of Tarzan. And I was the art director and one of the illustrators in the book. This is me. I'm at the front of the book. And then there's 12 other illustrators.
Please.
This is Isaac Lowell, I believe. Steve Gordon. I apologize to the artist if I got the name incorrectly, but I could shout off some names.
Yeah.
Pablo Marcus, Lowell Isaac, Will Mignot, Nick Polico, Stephen Gordon, Jamie Chase, Terry Beatty, Mark Wheatley, Sergio Corelio, Thomas Aranda, and Carlos Aruglio. And they're all amazing. And it's a prequel to the movie.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
Let's check it out. How
so
was it?
All that, then I was able to get into My Little Pony.
Yeah. So describe like how was that transition from different projects and kind of.
Oh, it's hard going from project to project, but I also like the variety to go from Tarzan, where you're really studying the male form, basically, because they're basically nude, or the female form, because, you know, and I think that's kind of what draws artists to it, because you love the going back to the roots, and, you know, for me, going back to my Andrew Loomis books and looking at all the structure and anatomy. And then I'd have to switch to cartooning.
Right.
Kind of have to take a break and have some more caffeine. And it takes your brain a little while to adjust.
Yeah, that's going to be a big change. But talk a little bit about your, like, what, like, the start of My Little Pony was for you. And
oh, sure. So while I was working at Edgar Rice Burroughs, I reached out to some of the editors of My Little Pony, and I'm a big fan of the show. And I said I would really love to draw some stuff for My Little Pony. And they said, sure, send over some stuff. And one of the things I really loved about the process was that IDW was really into seeing different types of styles for My Little Pony. So they didn't want it to always be on brand and on model. They wanted to see a love for the characters and sort of your own interpretation of how you would draw the characters. So that was really refreshing. They really liked my stuff, and then it kind of took off from there. I was able to work with them for a bit.
So what was your process for taking My Little Pony and like giving it your own spin? Like, I think that's really cool for so established to be like, to give your take.
Oh, thank you. Oh, we just have water. I went through a bunch of styles with them, actually. I had one that was more digital, and then I had one that was more painterly and more ink. And then Bobby Conroe, I'm sorry, I hope I got his name right. He was fantastic and a wonderful editor, and he really gave me some great direction on which ones that he liked best. And I was happy to. I mean, honestly, I enjoyed drawing all of them.
Yeah, I can imagine. And I'm intrigued myself. I've looked at some of your work, and
it's a lot of variety.
Yeah, well, I'm an artist myself too, and so I'm all over the place. I heard in your when you were just talking about those illustrations, you're talking about different media. What is your like preferred media, or where has your career taken you in terms of media exploration, or what's your, you know?
Sure. So I always start with a really, really, really loose sketch. I do a bunch of thumbnails that are very, very small. I didn't bring a little sketch pad with me. I just put finished work. Let's see. But they're about, if you had an 8.5, 11 sheet of paper, I'd probably have 4 thumbnails on a page. Mm-hmm. And that's for me to sort of study the dark areas and the light areas, because I want to make sure that the shadows are playing well. And once I like those, then I'll blow them up a little and put a little bit more detail into them. And I'll send it over to whatever company that I'm working with. And then they'll give me some feedback on which ones that they like personally. Once I get some feedback from the art director or the editor, I like to take that sketch and then do variations on that sketch by hand. So a lot of my first processes are always done by hand. And once I have a fine-tuned sketch, I love to ink my pieces by hand.
Okay.
Let me see. I actually have some pens here I can bring out that I like. 1 second.
I'm all about the process myself. I love talking about that.
I'm still trying to get used to some old pen and ink techniques, but when I have a professional job, I just bring out some of the pens I do use. Oh no, did I transfer them? Let's see. Well, at least you know I'm always working, right? Because it would still be here if I wasn't.
That's a good thing.
So these are for very fine lines I like using.
Okay.
These Statler pens. And then there's a Fiber Castle Painterly brush. I don't know if you know about those.
Hmm?
Those are the ones I like best for inking, especially for cartooning.
Okay.
Yeah.
So after you ink something, do you bring it into digital? Do you do some sort of?
So for the most part, I usually digitally color. There's a lot of good reasons, and that's where I started. I did all my work digitally at first, and then went into fine art, which is good and bad. It got me a lot of jobs, but then I also had to sort of go back to some of the things that I probably should have learned previously, and now I'm learning. But digitally, I would recommend to anybody starting out because you can make a lot of revisions quickly, and the standard for comics right now, I think you do have to make a lot of changes, and there is a brightness, I think, to digital colors that you can't really get with traditional art.
Yeah.
I mean, if you can get it with traditional art, then you're really doing amazing. But it is hard to get that same
Vibrancy.
yes.
Yep. No, it's a struggle myself. So.
Yeah. I think every artist struggles with that. So if you're watching and you're struggling with it, you're not alone.
Yeah, I like find myself trying to be like, this looks like this here, and then how is it not up there? So
Right.
no, I totally get that. So you're talk about My Little Pony, and then where it's taking you to now. Like, what's your what's it been since then for you?
Well, I did a bunch of different variant covers for My Little Pony, but they're slowing their run down now. And now I'm working on a bunch of independent comics, including I was in Mine, which was an anthology that supported Planned Parenthood. And there are a bunch of different artists were in here, including Mark Wheatley and Neil Gaiman. And it's fantastic. And they're doing another series. So this was for Planned Parenthood from Comic Mix. And the next series is going to be an environmental anthology where all the stories are to help with increasing environmental awareness and global warming and things of that nature.
You got some messages in there.
Yeah, I like to, I work on a lot of toys on the side, illustrations for toys. So I do comic books and then I do toys. Comics, for me, is not something that I can do full time. So
Okay.
I do two things part-time. So when I do comics, I want it to be something I have a passion for, like My Little Pony or the Halloween Legion. So I'm so grateful to be part of the next anthology with Comic Mix that's for the environment, as it's something I'm pretty passionate about.
So what's that? If you can talk about it, what's that story about, and like what's that?
So I believe all the stories are anywhere from 2 to 8 pages, roughly. And everyone has a different artist and writer. And I'm working with writer Barbara Kessel, who's amazing. And I don't know if I can share what the story is right now,
okay.
But I'm sorry.
No, that's all good. No.
I can tell you that I love it and I love working on it.
So each artist has a paired writer, and then there's how many artists are actually working on that comic book?
What'd you say?
How many artists are working? Or
so let's see. It's probably about the same number as this one. This is so you can see how many artists are on the back here.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it's let's see here. Well, the pages are not numbered here, but I mean, if I had to guess, this is probably it's a thick book. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody had anywhere from 2 to 6 pages. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun to see how everybody interprets, say, the importance of Planned Parenthood or the importance of the environment. Everyone has sort of their own different take.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be, it doesn't always have to be exactly what you think it's going to be.
Well, it's probably cool to see, same message, but people's different visual interpretations of how to make that. And even within this, a graphic novel comic style, to see how that can translate across artists. That's going to be really cool. And
I can't wait to see it.
Very cool.
Thanks.
What would you describe, like, speaking of the, these different styles, like, you're given projects like this where you're able to really kind of push your own thing. Like, what would you say is like your style, or what, and maybe if someone's starting out, like how to find a style, or
I would say for people who are starting out that you want to go back to all the great artists that you would look at. For Zeta, for me, um, Dave Stevens would be on that list, Bruce Timm, um, and Andrew Loomis. And so, you look at paintings that you love and comic book artists that you love because they're all sort of stem to the same uh, just knowledge of understanding the art form that everybody is trying to constantly work on. So I would definitely say go back to creative roots and uh, creative, what would I say, like traditional crafts. And then after that, I would definitely suggest to most artists to figure out some sort of digital means as well. So I would definitely say a little bit of traditional and a little bit of the digital.
Yeah, and because you gotta, like you were saying earlier, you gotta be able to get that color, and then also it's easy to produce, like easy to make mistakes. Especially, I'm so intrigued that like there's that many different proofs to like. I mean, it makes sense, but like it's a lot of sometimes people don't see the behind the scenes of what
Right.
a single frame takes to make. So to be
Yeah.
able to come back and edit things has to be really cool. Or really,
Yeah. Right now I'm working on 3 pitches on a new style, and for the last 5 or 6 years, I've been studying under Steve Rude. I don't know if you know who Steve Rude is.
I don't. But I want
He's
to.
a pretty famous comic book artist who's well known for Nexus with Mike Barron, and he does a lot of artwork that's traditional art. And I sort of have leaned my new style, and you can probably see it in my Wonder Woman drawing. That's I'm pretty popular for. A little bit more Fred Moore from Disney, a little bit more Tex Avery. It's a little cleaner, simpler, and I've just been trying to hone my craft towards understanding how those artists took their skill for understanding anatomy and simplifying it down to just you seeing it without realizing just how fantastic it is. I don't even try to compare myself to those, but I'm just saying that if I was to tell you I'm leaning towards a style, it would be those people are the ones that are inspiring me.
Yeah, totally makes sense. So you're currently working on this environmental comic, but what else does what are some other things in the future to be looking out for?
Sure.
And maybe while we're talking about that too, like I know I've found you on some social media and stuff, maybe share some of that stuff too so people can check you out if they're not familiar with your work. And
Oh, thanks. Yeah, I'm on Instagram as Miss Diana Leto, and I draw a lot of posts that I put up are just sketches, my random post for the day, because before I go to work at the drawing table, I always want to do a just for fun sketch for myself. And it's May, so I've been doing a lot of mermaids, which is fun. I'll be posting another mermaid tomorrow, which is exciting because it's just something to sort of get the blood flowing, and it's a warm up sketch. And I try not to spend too much time on it. And those are the pieces that I post on social media because I find them to be, I guess, the most lighthearted that I'm not working on for full time, and people like to see the process, I think.
yeah, totally.
But when I'm not doing that, I'm either working on my next comic book pitch or my next comic book, like with the environmental anthology. And I'm also working on a lot of toys and style guides.
I'm so intrigued by like these like what
I'm pretty busy.
like, that's something
What's going on over here?
I'm like I love the concept of like not focused like making your full-time gig be a couple of things just to keep it interesting and keep it
I do like juggling. Yeah.
but like it keeps it like fresh and you don't
Right.
do the same thing over and over. And even within your your comic book stuff, like there's so much variety and ability to kind of find different things. But like what's the toy illustration like? What does that involve? Like I'm not even sure I would know what that would entail.
Great. So when I went to college, couldn't. I didn't realize how many jobs were available. I mean, I always loved reading comics, and I honestly never thought I'd even be published in a comic book. So when I went to school, I started taking digital graphic design because I really just needed to get a job. And I started doing graphic design and communication design with a minor in illustration. And that's how I kind of landed the job at Sesame Street, because I was able to do a little bit of everything. And I didn't realize how many jobs there were until I got there, because there could be an illustrator for toys. There can be someone who does style guides, which I love doing. You can be someone who just does concept sketches for movies, or for apparel and clothing. So, I mean, footwear, as Don Draper would say. Here, I'll show you some. So the one I was showing earlier, this one here, this was just essentially to show people how to draw the characters, and then they would use it for merchandise. And I never even knew there would be an artist who would do something like this, who would create a guide just to show people that, you know, this is what the character looked like. Let me show another character. Oh, you know what's fun? Wait. There's a cool one with a Muppet face, like how a puppet works. I wonder if I moved that page. No, it's got to be here. Wait. I don't know where it is in this book, but I'll show a little bit here. This I thought was kind of interesting. One of my first little tricks of the trade. Let's see. This way. So they show you. Okay, there we go. I think I got it. So the eye at the bottom, just showing you that the placement of the eye. It's just the tiny little details of making sure that when you hand it over to other people, that they understand that every character has to be consistent no matter where it goes, and that artists have to be aware of that.
I mean, that's such a little, such little detail
that
creates that continuity across the character. So that's,
yeah.
Oh my God.
So my most recent style guide I worked on, and a style guide, let me know if I'm talking too fast.
You're
So style guides they're guides that show the brand for either a television show or a character or a series or an episode, and then they're distributed to people so that so that companies know what kind of merchandise to make or what the episodes would look like. So basically, a style guide is an overall guide of what the style of something should look like. And I have another one here. Let's see. This was a fun one I worked on. This was for the Furchester Hotel. You can see how rough this one is. There we go. And I helped mock up the guide for this. And this was a pitch to create a television show. So this was fun. And here I didn't do the illustrations. This was an artist named Lewis Henry Mitchell. But I essentially helped create the entire pitch and then helped sell it. And then it got picked up at the BBC as a television show. So this is one version of a style guide where here I was just the designer and I worked with an illustrator. It's interesting how many different jobs you can have as an artist.
Well, and how is that, you know, I'm intrigued to hear your opinion on how is it for you to be able to wear so many hats and how to then switch roles, and how is that for you?
I think at first it was really hard because I always thought that it's hard to switch gears, as I was mentioning earlier. But as I got older, I think I allow myself the frustration of just getting your mindset in the right frame. And that's hard, I think, for a lot of people, just to go, it's okay that this is taking a little while to bend your ear, your eye to the new project. So I think in my old age that I'm a little bit more forgiving if I can't immediately pick it up. And I think I would suggest that to anybody. Just give yourself a little time and patience, and you will pick it up. You just have to allow yourself, work at it hard, and eventually it will come to you. Be patient and work hard.
Very cool. I love it. I mean, I thought I knew what, you know, there was out there, and I'm now having my eyes open.
Right. So at my most recent merchandising / toy thing I worked on was a really exciting one, which I can't show any images of, but I'll just tell you because I'm Pretty sure I can say it now. But I got to work on the style guide for Dune, which is coming out next year. Is it next year or this Christmas? I don't know if it got pushed back. But I did a bunch of illustrations that will be on T-shirts or merchandise, graphics for and symbols that I'm not sure what they're going to use it for, but they can use it in anything from backpacks. And essentially, I laid out an entire guide where there's artwork that people can use to help show off what the movie is going to have, and the movie is going to be amazing, I think.
That's just like, talking about, to go from My Little Pony to
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's kind of like going back to Tarzan, because it's got that, violent, otherworldly atmosphere. And then I go back to cartooning, and then it goes back to more adult stuff. So it's either children's media or more action-y adult stuff.
But I think I love what you said, that you kind of, you keep it, new and fresh by doing so many different projects and stuff. That's amazing.
Well, I think as artists, and I'm sure you know this, it's so easy to get burnt out. And that's why I do the quick sketch in the morning, because it makes me, I can draw whatever I want. And even though I love what I do, it's still work. And if you have to go to the table and you have to draw this thing, I think all artists have this resistance. And they go, I don't want to do it, even though it's what they're meant to do. But you still go, I'm going to go clean the house or something instead of draw.
When you have to do something you love, you're like, oh.
Yeah. So that's the reason I get up and I do a sketch, or I have my coffee drawings or my mermaid drawings, because it's fun for me. And so
what are your coffee drawings?
Oh, I either post inspirational photos from old classic Hollywood people drinking coffee, or I will draw a lot of girls drinking coffee just because and I have my New York W with the coffee. Oh, well, you're from New York, so maybe you don't hear as much, but here in California, I really get picked up for it, which is kind of funny for me.
Where in New York are you from originally?
Well, I was born in Flushing, and then I moved out to Long Island, and then I went to the Bronx. So a little bit of everywhere, but I definitely have that W.
I have the Rochester. So that's what I get a lot too. So no, I get it.
I like it.
So you're in California now, you said?
Yes. Yeah, I'm in California. Yeah.
Very, so we only got a couple minutes left, but make sure I want to hear about like the next thing people should be looking for, and like, if you have like other channels or places they can find information, a website. I want to hear, because I know I'm going to be, after I'm done here, you're going to be getting a DM from me on Instagram, and be like, hey, what's up? So
that sounds great. So yeah, you can find me on Miss Diana Leto on Instagram. I also have a page on Facebook called Sexy Not Submissive, which is a bunch of pinup girls, always in sort of strong poses. And my next comic is going to be the environmental comic, but I am working on 3 other pitches, and if they get picked up, I will definitely post to social media. So I think one of them is really exciting. So I hope that I will be able to share that with you soon. I'm sorry I can't say more about future projects.
I mean, the fact that there's future projects and you can't talk about them, that means they're like big deal, and that's a good thing to be happy. So, I love this, and it's been such a pleasure to talk to you. And like, I'm so like seeing your diversity through your work, like hearing about it. And I've checked out some of your stuff, and I just,
thank you.
It's so awesome to see somebody so comfortable in being able to do so many things, and it's been really great to talk to you and hear about your experience. And yeah, I'm loving this. So
thank you so much for having me on. And if I could just, if I have 2 seconds.
Yeah, go ahead.
I never thought I would ever work professionally as an artist. So if you are drawing, I would definitely say just keep drawing. I would say practice all sorts of styles. See what you lean towards. And it is possible. There are so many creative jobs. You might not land in the job that you immediately thought you would, which was the case for me. And I'm very fortunate that I did get there. But I still very fulfilled in the things that I didn't think would be like the dream job, because I'm doing something that is creative, and you can do it. Just keep at it. Hard work, perseverance.
It'll weave through, and you'll never know when you actually use something that, you know, from the early job, you pick back up on it. So
Exactly.
all experience and the quills in the hat. So no, I love that.
Awesome.
Awesome.
In the hair.
Hey, right? I was like, leave the hat on. This quarantine has not been kind to my head. So
The flowers just keep getting bigger and bigger. So I'm going to start saying they're quills in my hat. I like that expression.
yeah, love it. Well, thank you so much for talking to you. And again, be looking out for, I'm going to give you a follow on Miss Deanna Leto and on Instagram and checking you out. So thank you so much for talking tonight. And, you know, for everybody that's watching, make sure you keep on the posts about the next guest that Pop Rock has. And yeah, thanks so much for joining me tonight. It's been great to talk to you.
Likewise.
All right, have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.